We have a new film by Luca Guadagnino. He is a director I really highly respect, and that is because of his strong directing. This is his third big film, the first one being Call Me By Your Name, Bones and All, and Challengers. And what I respect about Luca Guadagnino so much is all three of these movies feel so distinct from one another when you compare them directly, but they all kind of feel like they're made by him. It's really, really strong auteurism on his end, and what makes it so much more impressive is that he doesn't write his movies. I mean, I'm sure he, selects them from a pile of offers, which is why he keeps on picking, scripts with the same themes and same type of sensual feeling to them. But still, the fact that he has written these movies and they feel so distinct and yet so different at the same time is really impressive. I really liked this film, and it's so hard to compare it to his other movies because it's so different, but yet nobody else could have made this but him. Hats off to him. It's really a well-made movie. And the thing is, I can't even compare it because it's like, is it his best directed? Well, I don't even know because it's so different. This is probably his most experimental when it comes to where he places the camera. It's his most creative and probably his most fun movie to watch, least depressing. And so it has this high octane energy throughout the entire movie. It really just keeps on going, and a lot of that has to do with a lot of factors. The tennis matches, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross knocked it out of the park and gave a really magnificent score. When it started, I was unsure, but the more we got into the film, it worked more for me. And then editing. This film is not told linear. It's definitely like a non-linear film, and I think it works that way. If this film was told from a linear way, it would not maintain this energy. And of course, it's a Luca Guadagnino film. It's very, very, how do I put this? It's a steamy movie. And honestly, it's not as bad as probably I think the trailer suggested. Cutting constantly from back and forth from multiple times in these characters' lives, editing between the sensuality to the tennis matches to the amazing score, all these factors kind of blending together, plus of course Luca's amazing direction, kind of create this vibe that makes this film just really fly by. It's 2 hours 11 minutes, and I did think that maybe it was a little long, and I will say maybe 5 minutes could have been cut. I have some nitpicks with this movie. The nitpicks that I have feel so I feel bad to give them because it's stuff that didn't necessarily work with me, but my criticisms of the film are on the more creative sides of this film. I think the last 20 minutes, if you don't know much about tennis, it's kind of hard to tell exactly what's going on, what is like the game point, until they literally tell you what's the game point. They use a lot of slow-mo, and sometimes it felt a little just overly stylized, kind of like we were just waiting. I was just waiting for it to kind of get to the point. Slow-mo that looks good, it was well shot, it's just I thought maybe all of them didn't need to be there because the slow-mo got really obsessive towards the end of the film, and I was just like, okay, chill out, it's not, Rebel Moon Part 2. Another complaint I had is that at moments towards the beginning of the film when we're kind of setting everything up, particularly with this odd love triangle, it felt kind of soap opera-y towards the beginning. There's this one scene on the beach, and the score, while I still like the score, it felt very piano-y, it just felt a little soap opera-y to me, and I was watching and I was like, oh god, okay, can this scene be done? And that's really my only criticisms of the film, though. Obsessive use of slow-mo towards the end and the soap opera-y vibe that sometimes bled through a little too much. Beyond that, it's an incredibly well-made film that I could not get my eyes off of. Its nonlinear storytelling and performances just held this movie up. Luca Guadagnino, from a visual perspective, just leveled it up, I think, quite a bit from his last two films. The way that they capture these tennis matches are really creative, particularly, I said, there's a lot of uses of slow-mo. A lot of it worked, and like I said, some of it didn't. And then there's really clever shots where it's almost like a 3D effect with the tennis ball. It's like, how many camera lenses did they break? Hopefully they were protecting those lenses, because my god, the tennis balls got awfully close to the camera. Zendaya is fantastic in this movie. I would dare say this is one of my favorite performances from her, alongside with Malcolm and Marie, I think an underrated film. She was phenomenal in that, and I would say she was just as good here, but they're very different performances. I really liked the aura that her character gave off, almost like that you can't take your eyes off of her type of mysteriousness, but intensity that she kind of won. Kind of reminds me of a little bit, not as much, and I wouldn't say as good as this performance I'm about to compare it to, but like Cate Blanchett in Tar, where the question mark kind of remains on her character. You don't know exactly what she's thinking, but it's very fascinating at the same time. time. And I feel like maybe the movie could have explored a little bit more of what is she thinking, what are her real motives, and it could have been a little bit more of a mystery type thing, but it definitely chooses to focus more on this love triangle that's very, very twisted, awkward, and even funny. It finds the human moments in all of these, in all the scenes. Was overall, I would say, Luca Guadagnino's most watchable movie that I've seen of his. You know, Call Me By Your Name is depressing, Bones and All, which is depressing and gross, and both great movies, and this one is just kind of awkward, but has a very nice energy throughout the movie that really carries you through. I really enjoyed watching it. I don't have a lot to say because, you know, this movie's been getting universal praise, and I had those two small nitpicks. I don't like to play the compare game, but out of all his movies, I would say this is the one I'm most likely to go back and watch again. I highly recommend this movie. Anyways, comment down below what you guys thought of Challengers, and if so, how would you rank the Luca Guadagnino films? I'm very curious how people would rank it. Like I said, I don't even know how to rank these movies, and I want to give Challengers a 9 out of 10. Comment down below what you guys thought. Like, share, subscribe, and stuff like that, and adios.